The blinding flash of pain shot through Keith Baxter's arm as the mining drill slipped, catching his wrist against the unyielding surface of the asteroid. He had been extracting rare minerals for 12 hours straight, and fatigue had finally caught up with him. Now, as he floated in the cramped mining pod clutching his injured arm, he realized the company's push for higher quotas might have just cost him dearly. "Control, this is Baxter at Sector 7, Keith called through his comm link, his voice strained. "I've got an injury. Drill slipped and caught my wrist. I'm bleeding inside the suit." The response came through with a crackle of static. "Copy that, Baxter. Medical evacuation is en route. Apply pressure and remain still." Keith tried to maneuver his good hand to compress the injury, but the bulky spacesuit made it nearly impossible. Blood was pooling inside his glove, creating a disturbing crimson bubble that floated within the confines of his suit. The pain was intense, and he could feel the edges of consciousness beginning to blur. Within minutes, he heard the hum of approaching thrusters. Through the pod's viewport, he saw the gleaming white hull of the medical shuttle, emblazoned with the familiar logo of Interstellar Mining Corporation. But as the shuttle docked with his pod, Keith noticed something unusual. The IMC insignia was accompanied by unfamiliar markings, symbols he had never seen in his 5 years of asteroid mining. The airlock cycled, and instead of the human medic he expected, a tall, slender figure ducked through the opening. Keith's eyes widened. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall, with grayish-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the pod's harsh lighting. Its 4 eyes, 2 large primary ones and 2 smaller ones above them, blinked in sequence as it surveyed the cramped space. Instead of a nose, it had 3 vertical slits, and its mouth was a thin line that barely moved when it spoke. "Human injured. I am Doctor Naxil, emergency medical responder," the alien said in accented but clear English. "IMC has contracted Galactic Health Services for remote operations. Please remain calm." Keith had heard rumors that the corporation was outsourcing medical services to save costs, but he hadn't expected to be treated by an actual alien. The shock momentarily distracted him from the pain. "Your vital signs indicate significant trauma and blood loss, Doctor." Naxil continued, moving with surprising grace in the zero-gravity environment. The alien medic opened a case that expanded into a portable medical station. "I must remove your suit to assess damage." Keith nodded weakly, feeling lightheaded. "Just fix it," he mumbled, "Doctor." Naxil's long, 6-fingered hands worked with remarkable precision, detaching Keith's helmet and carefully cutting away the sleeve of his spacesuit. The alien's touch was cool and firm as it gently rotated Keith's injured arm for examination. "Deep laceration. Bone is visible, Doctor." Naxil observed, producing a handheld scanner that emitted a soft blue light. The alien passed it over Keith's arm multiple times, eyes focused on a holographic display that appeared in the air. "Interesting. Your skeletal structure shows abnormalities." Keith winced as the alien applied a transparent gel to his wound. "What kind of abnormalities?" "Bone density is suboptimal," Dr. Naxil replied, continuing to work. "Your calcium levels are concerning. When did you last have medical evaluation?" Keith tried to think through the fog of pain. "Standard physical before my contract renewal, maybe 8 months ago. They said I was fine." Dr. Naxil made a sound that might have been disapproval. "Human medical standards can be imprecise. Your bones show signs of mineral depletion, consistent with long-term exposure to reduced gravity and radiation. Your bone density is 18% below what would be considered healthy for a human male of your age and build." The alien medic applied a device that sealed the wound with a faint hissing sound, instantly stopping the bleeding. The pain subsided to a dull throb. "I need more calcium," Keith said with a weak laugh. "My mother always told me to drink my milk." Dr. Naxil didn't seem to appreciate the humor. "This is serious, human Baxter. Your current condition puts you at high risk for fractures and long-term skeletal damage. The wrist injury is merely a symptom of a larger problem." As the alien continued to treat him, Keith felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in the pod. He had heard stories of miners who had spent too many years in space, their bodies deteriorating, bones becoming brittle, muscles wasting away. But he was only 32, too young for space rot, as the veterans called it. "Can you fix it?" Keith asked. "Doctor." Naxil finished bandaging the wound and administered an injection that immediately made Keith feel more alert. The immediate injury, yes. The underlying condition requires intervention. You require treatment not available in this mining sector. The alien tapped something into a device on its wrist. "I am recommending immediate transfer to the medical station orbiting Callisto." Keith shook his head. "I can't do that. I'm 6 months into a 12-month contract. If I break it, I lose my completion bonus. That's 40% of my pay. If you continue working, your skeletal system will continue to degrade," Dr. Naxil stated flatly. "Your next injury may not be repairable." The alien medic helped Keith into a pressure suit designed for injured personnel, one that would maintain proper circulation and support his injured wrist during transit. As they prepared to transfer to the medical shuttle, Keith noticed Dr. Naxil studying the mineral samples he had collected. "Rare earth elements," Keith explained. "Worth a fortune back on Earth. That's why we're out here risking our necks." Dr. Naxil's head tilted slightly. Interesting that humans would compromise their physical structure to collect elements that could restore that same structure. Keith hadn't thought of it that way. "What do you mean, these minerals?" Dr. Naxil said, gesturing to the samples. "Contain compounds that, properly processed, could help address bone density issues like yours. Yet your species mines them primarily for electronics and weapons." Before Keith could respond, the shuttle's pilot, a human, to Keith's relief, called through the comm system. "Dr. Naxil, we need to depart now if we want to make the transfer window to Callisto Station." The journey to the transfer station was a blur of pain medication and fitful sleep for Keith. When he finally fully regained consciousness, he was in a sterile white room with a viewport showing the swirling clouds of Jupiter looming large beyond Callisto's orbit. His arm was encased in a regenerative sleeve that pulsed with soft blue light. "Doctor." Naxil entered the room, accompanied by another alien of the same species but with darker skin and elaborate markings on its face. "Human Baxter, this is Dr. Zenther, bone specialist," Dr. Naxil introduced. "We have completed comprehensive scans of your skeletal system." "Doctor." Zenther stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed Keith's entire skeleton, rotating slowly in the air. Certain areas glowed red, particularly around the spine, hips, and long bones of his legs. "Human, your condition is concerning," Dr. Zenther said, voice deeper than Naxil's. "You exhibit advanced osteopenia, approaching osteoporosis in several regions. This is unusual for a male of your age. How long have you worked in space?" Keith tried to sit up, wincing at a pain in his back he hadn't noticed before. "This is my 3rd consecutive contract, so about 30 months without returning to Earth gravity." The two aliens exchanged looks. "That explains much," Dr. Zenther said. "Human skeletal systems require regular exposure to gravity loading to maintain density." Your company's protocols should have required rotation to a gravity environment every 12 months. The bonuses for consecutive contracts are too good to pass up, Keith admitted. A lot of us stay out as long as we can. Dr. Naxil made a gesture that Keith couldn't interpret. Your corporate profit incentives directly conflict with biological necessities. Fascinating and disturbing. Dr. Zenther manipulated the hologram, zooming in on Keith's spine. We recommend immediate treatment. Our protocols can reverse approximately 60% of the damage, but you will need to complete the therapy in a gravity environment. What kind of treatment? Keith asked, suddenly nervous. And how long will it take? 2 phases, Dr. Zenther explained. First, intensive mineral replenishment and targeted bone stimulation here at our facility. This will take approximately 10 Earth days. Second, a regimen of supplements and prescribed exercise in at least 0.8 Earth gravity for 3 months. Keith's heart sank. That means breaking my contract. I can't afford to lose that money. Dr. Naxil stepped closer to the bed. Human Baxter, without treatment, your next mining accident will likely result in catastrophic fractures. Your spine shows micro-fractures already forming. If one of these completes, you may suffer neural damage. The gravity of the situation finally hit Keith. He wasn't just risking discomfort or a bonus, he was risking his ability to walk, to function, to live independently. Fine, he said after a long moment. Start the treatment. I'll deal with the company later. The next 10 days were unlike anything Keith had experienced. The alien medical techniques were a combination of advanced technology and treatments that seemed almost ritualistic. Each morning began with immersion in a mineral-rich solution that tingled against his skin. Dr. Naxil explained that the solution was calibrated to be absorbed through his skin, delivering calcium, phosphorus, and trace elements directly to his bloodstream. This was followed by sessions in what the aliens called a bone stimulator, a chamber that used targeted sound waves to trigger bone growth. The sensation was strange, like thousands of tiny vibrations deep within his body, sometimes painful but mostly just unusual. The process accelerates your natural bone remodeling, Dr. Zenther explained on the 3rd day as Keith winced during a particularly intense session. Human bones constantly break down and rebuild. We are simply enhancing the rebuilding phase. Keith was surprised by how quickly he began to feel different. By the 5th day, the persistent ache in his back that he had attributed to normal mining fatigue had diminished significantly. His injured wrist was healing at an astonishing rate. Your species has remarkable regenerative capabilities when properly supported, Dr. Naxil observed while checking Keith's progress scans. Your bone formation is responding well. On the 7th day, Keith received an unexpected visitor. A human woman in an IMC executive uniform entered his room while he was finishing lunch, real food, not the processed nutrition packs he was used to on mining assignments. Mr. Baxter, I'm Lisa Jurgens, Medical Compliance Officer for IMC, she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. I need to discuss your treatment situation. Keith straightened in his bed. The aliens say I have serious bone density issues. I need this treatment. Yes, we've reviewed their reports, Jurgens replied, taking a seat beside his bed. However, our human medical consultants believe the Vasurian doctors may be overzealous in their diagnosis and treatment plan. Overzealous, Keith repeated. They showed me the scans. My bones are literally starting to crack, Jurgens sighed. Mr. Baxter, you need to understand that Vasurian physiology is very different from human. Their standards for bone density don't necessarily translate to human health requirements. She leaned forward. More importantly, Your contract clearly states that any medical treatment must be approved by company physicians. You've initiated an expensive treatment protocol without proper authorization. Keith felt his temper rising. So what are you saying? That I should just go back to work with brittle bones until something snaps? I'm saying, Jurgens replied coldly, that the company is willing to overlook this breach of contract if you agree to return to your assignment after a modified, shortened treatment protocol approved by our doctors. 3 days more, not 7. Before Keith could respond, Dr. Naxil entered the room, the alien's 4 eyes fixed on Jurgens with what Keith interpreted as disapproval. Your proposal is medically unsound, Dr. Naxil stated. Human Baxter requires the full treatment protocol. Jurgens stood, smoothing her uniform. With all due respect, Doctor, your contract with IMC specifies that treatment plans for our employees must be approved by our medical director. I have his assessment here. She held up a tablet. 3 more days of basic calcium supplementation will be sufficient. Dr. Naxil stepped fully into the room. Interesting. Your contract also specifies that Galactic Health Services has full autonomy in emergency medical situations. Human Baxter's condition qualifies as such. The standoff was tense, with Keith looking back and forth between the human executive and the alien doctor. Finally, Jurgens broke the silence. We'll see what the contract arbitrators have to say about this interpretation, Doctor. In the meantime, she turned to Keith, you should know that any unauthorized extension of treatment will be at your own expense. The company will not cover it. After she left, Keith slumped back in his bed. I can't afford this place without company coverage, Doctor. Naxil made an adjustment to Keith's treatment regimen on a nearby console. Galactic Health Services does not operate on the same profit model as your human corporations. Our primary directive is healing. What does that mean? Keith asked. It means, Doctor. Naxil replied, that we will continue your treatment as medically necessary, regardless of your ability to pay. Payment disputes are handled separately from treatment decisions. Keith was stunned. Why would you do that? What do you get out of it, Doctor? Naxil's expression changed subtly. Keith was beginning to recognize the alien's emotional cues. My species believes that healing is a fundamental right, not a service to be rationed based on financial status. This concept seems difficult for many humans to comprehend. The next day, Keith received another visitor, this one much more welcome. Dr. Zenther arrived with a human doctor, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair who introduced himself as Dr. Raymond Chen, an independent bone specialist from Earth. Mr. Baxter, I've been asked to provide a third-party assessment of your condition, Dr. Chen explained, reviewing the holographic scans. I must say, these Vasurian imaging techniques are remarkable. They show detail our Earth-based scans can't capture. Keith watched anxiously as the human doctor examined the images, occasionally asking Dr. Zenther technical questions. After a thorough review, Dr. Chen turned to Keith with a serious expression. Mr. Baxter, I've seen a lot of space-related bone density issues in my career, but yours is among the most severe cases in someone your age. The microfractures forming in your vertebrae are particularly concerning. He gestured to the scan. If you'd continued working without treatment, I estimate you would have experienced a major spinal fracture within 2 to 3 months, possibly resulting in paralysis. Keith felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. So the aliens are right. Absolutely, Dr. Chen confirmed. In fact, their treatment protocol is more advanced than anything we currently offer on Earth. You're fortunate to have access to it. He turned to Dr. Zenther. I'm officially recommending continuation of the full treatment course, followed by the 3-month gravity rehabilitation. By the 9th day of treatment, Keith was allowed to walk around the medical facility. The station had artificial gravity set at 0.6 Earth normal, not ideal for bone recovery, but better than the near-zero gravity of the mining operation. His wrist had healed completely, leaving only a faint pink line where the deep gash had been. Dr. Naxil found him in the station's observation lounge, staring out at Jupiter's massive form. "Your latest scans show significant improvement," the alien doctor said. "Bone density has increased by 12% overall, with the highest gains in your spine and hip structures." Keith nodded. "I feel better than I have in years. I didn't even realize how much pain I was in until it started going away." He turned to face the alien. "I got a message from IMC. They've agreed to honor Dr. Chen's recommendation and cover the full treatment." "That is fortunate," Dr. Naxil said, "though it would not have affected your care either way." Keith studied the alien physician. "I still don't understand why your people would help humans like this." "What's in it for you?" Dr. Naxil moved to stand beside Keith at the viewport. "My species faced extinction 3 centuries ago due to a bone-deteriorating pathogen. We lost nearly half our population before developing the treatments that saved our race. Now we share that knowledge throughout the galaxy." "So it's like paying it forward?" Keith asked. "A human concept, but yes, similar," Dr. Naxil replied. "We believe knowledge that preserves life should be freely given." On his final day at the medical station, Keith received his discharge instructions and a supply of supplements from Dr. Zenther. "These mineral compounds will support continued bone regeneration," the alien specialist explained. "You must take them daily for 1 full Earth year. And you must follow the exercise protocol precisely." Keith nodded, packing the medications into his bag. "I will. IMC has assigned me to their Earth-based processing facility for 6 months, full gravity." "That is acceptable," Dr. Zenther said. "However, I strongly recommend you not return to low-gravity environments for extended periods. Your skeletal structure may never fully recover its original density." As Keith prepared to board the transport ship that would take him back to Earth, Dr. Naxil appeared with a small device. "This is a bone density monitor," the alien explained, handing it to Keith. "It will allow you to track your recovery progress. If the readings fall below the indicated threshold, you must seek medical attention immediately." Keith accepted the device, turning it over in his hands. It was sleek and obviously of alien design. "This looks expensive." "It is not for sale," Dr. Naxil said. "It is loaned to you as part of your continuing care. When your treatment is complete, return it to any Galactic Health Services facility." Keith was touched by the gesture. "Thank you." "For everything." Dr. Naxil made the slight head tilt that Keith had come to recognize as acknowledgement. "One question before you depart, human Baxter. When you recognized your condition, you said I need more calcium. Was this based on medical knowledge?" Keith laughed. "No, just something everyone knows. Calcium for strong bones. My mother used to say it when I was a kid." "Interesting," Dr. Naxil replied. "Your species has the knowledge but often fails to apply it. Perhaps humans need more than calcium. They need better systems to ensure biological needs are not sacrificed for economic gain." The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Keith spent the time religiously following his exercise regimen and taking his supplements. The bone density monitor showed steady improvement, and by the time the transport ship entered Earth orbit, his overall density had increased by 18% from his initial readings. Earth's gravity hit him hard at first. The first few days back were uncomfortable, with his muscles and bones protesting the sudden return to full weight. But as the weeks passed, Keith found himself growing stronger than he had been in years. 2 months into his Earth assignment, Keith received a notification from Galactic Health Services. Dr. Naxil was on Earth, part of a medical delegation negotiating expanded services for human space workers, and had requested a follow-up appointment. They met at a coffee shop near Keith's apartment. Dr. Naxil, dressed in clothing designed to help the alien cope with Earth's gravity and atmosphere, still stood out dramatically among the human customers, who tried not to stare openly at the four-eyed visitor. "Your recovery exceeds expectations, Doctor," Naxil said after scanning Keith with a handheld device. "Bone density is now only 5% below optimal levels for your age and build." Keith grinned, pushing a cup across the table. "I brought you something. They said your species can consume this safely." Dr. Naxil examined the cup. "What is it?" "Milk," Keith replied. "Calcium-rich bovine lactation, traditional human remedy for bone strength." He raised his own cup in a toast, "To strong bones and better systems." The alien's mouth formed what Keith now recognized as its version of a smile, "To knowledge shared and lives preserved." As they drank their respective beverages, Keith shared news about the changes happening at IMC following his case. The company, facing potential lawsuits and regulatory scrutiny, had implemented new policies requiring miners to return to gravity environments every 6 months. They had also contracted with Galactic Health Services to provide regular bone density screenings for all space workers. "Your experience has improved conditions for 12,000 human space workers," Dr. Naxil noted. "A significant impact from one medical intervention." Keith hadn't thought of it that way. "I was just trying to save my own bones." "Individual healing often leads to collective improvement," Dr. Naxil replied. "This is why we consider medical knowledge so valuable." After finishing their drinks, they walked through a nearby park. Keith moved with ease, his body growing accustomed again to Earth's pull. "Will you return to space mining?" Dr. Naxil asked. Keith shook his head. "No, IMC offered me a permanent position in their Earth facility. Less money, but better for my health. Plus, I'm training to become a medical compliance officer, making sure the company follows the new health protocols." "A wise choice," Dr. Naxil said. "Though I admit, I am surprised by your career change." Keith stopped by a pond, watching children feed ducks. "When I was up there, all I cared about was the money. Now I understand there are more important things." He turned to the alien. "Your people taught me that." "Perhaps we can learn from each other," Dr. Naxil suggested. "Humans have remarkable adaptability and innovation. My species has longer experience with interstellar medicine." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, Keith realized how far he had come from that frightening moment in the mining pod. His bones were stronger, but more importantly, his understanding of what mattered had fundamentally changed. "Dr. Naxil, I've been thinking about what you said about the minerals I was mining," Keith said as they prepared to part ways. "About how they could be used for bone treatments, but are mostly used for electronics. I've been working with some researchers at IMC to explore medical applications for those same elements." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of interest. Keith had learned. "This is promising." "Redirecting resources from technology to biological needs." "Yeah," Keith agreed. "Turns out some of those rare earths can be processed into treatments even more effective than what we have now. If it works out, it could help a lot of people with bone density issues, not just space workers." Dr. Naxil extended a 6-fingered hand in the human gesture of farewell that the alien had learned. "Then our paths crossing has benefited both our species. This is the true purpose of interstellar medicine. 6 months later, Keith stood before a room full of corporate executives and government officials, presenting the findings of a joint human-Vasurian research team. The holographic display showed the molecular structure of a new treatment derived from the very minerals Keith had once mined. In conclusion, Keith said, this collaborative project has yielded a treatment protocol that can reverse bone density loss by up to 85% in humans suffering from extended low-gravity exposure or terrestrial osteoporosis. By repurposing just 8% of our current rare earth mineral extraction for medical use, we can address the needs of over 200 million patients across Earth and its colonies. As the room erupted in applause, Keith caught sight of Dr. Naxil standing at the back, the alien's posture conveying what Keith now recognized as pride. The journey from injured miner to medical advocate had been unexpected, but Keith wouldn't trade it for anything. After the presentation, Dr. Naxil approached Keith. "Your species continues to surprise me. When faced with knowledge, humans can change course with remarkable speed," Keith smiled. "Sometimes we just need a wake-up call, or a broken wrist and an alien doctor pointing out that our bones are turning to chalk." "Indeed," Dr. Naxil agreed. "And sometimes, all it takes is one human saying, 'I need more calcium,' to start a chain of events that improves life for millions." As they walked out together into the sunlight, Keith felt the healthy weight of his body against Earth's gravity, a constant reminder of how close he had come to losing everything, and how an unexpected encounter with an alien medic had not only saved his bones, but had helped forge a new path forward for human health in space. And it had all started with a slip of a drill and a simple recognition. Sometimes, what we need most is right in front of us, if only we have the wisdom to see it.